try this again. I don't think my mic was live, which is awful. But essentially, what I'm going to be doing this morning, it's Thursday, September 26th, and I'm going to be going through these points kind of quickly and doing more chat and discussion at the end of the stream. But really what I wanted to do is talk about why YouTube is a game and why it's one that you can't win. And that sounds sort of dire, but first, before I kind of get into my point on that, I want to go over 10 ways that I think it very clearly parallels video games, and some of the reasons that I think there's some very obvious connections you can make there as a gamer. So, I'm going to go ahead and go through these pretty quickly for context, and then we're going to get into the main point, and then we'll discuss it afterwards. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, because there's a lot to unpack here. So first off, it is like a game in that there are very clear achievements that you can unlock, right? If you get 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers, then you get to... Oh, wait. Is it offline again? It just says starting. I don't think I have anything else running. This is awful. Okay, so has anybody heard me say anything yet? Now it looks like it's actually online. Can you guys hear me okay? Is it working now? I can't tell. Okay, so did you hear anything before what I'm saying right now or no? Hello, Dad, Neo, Hitman, Chips. I'm not sure how much buffered. Try to refresh the page, because I'm seeing video played back in my browser after I refresh it. We good? Okay, great. So, first off, one of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning is, essentially, I'm going to be going kind of quick through this. I'm not going to be very chatty until I get through all these points, because there's a lot to unpack here, right? That's a little bit of an incendiary thumbnail. But essentially, what I've been doing lately is thinking about, all the ways that YouTube is a game. And if you're running a video game channel, if you're a gamer and you're in the YouTube space at all, then there are some really obvious parallels, I think, to gaming. About 10 distinct ones that I counted, probably more. But I also think that, while YouTube lends itself to being a game, it's one that you absolutely can't win. So that's what I'm going to be going through right now. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly, and, hopefully the stream stays up this time. I'm not sure. But you're right, it is funny, Hitman. I say, you can't win the YouTube game, and then it gets bugged. It's like they know, right? But I'm going to go ahead and go through these real quick. The first way that it's definitely like a game is that there are some very clear achievements to unlock when it comes to YouTube, right? You get that 4,000 hours of watch time, you get 1,000 subscribers, then you unlock monetization. You get 10,000 subscribers, then you get to unlock a new feature, you get YouTube stories, right? And then if you get 100,000, you get a nice shiny silver play button. So there's some very clear achievements within YouTube, the same way there would be in a game. The next thing that I would say is that it has regular DLC. There were constantly, new forms of DLC available to YouTube in a way. It's not DLC in the fact that you actually have to go and manually do it. It just gets provided to you. But in the case of new features or new enhancements or new quality of life improvements, and that would be things like, them adding premieres not too long ago, right? You have the ability to not only create a video, but then watch the beginning of it live with friends, with viewers who really like what you had to do. So there's also regular DLC that gets added to the YouTube game. And to that end, there are also regular nerfs that happen on YouTube, right? One of the ways that they did this was that companies started to relax their stance on copyright claims in some cases. Nintendo, as we remember, a lot of people wouldn't stream first-party Nintendo games because they were constantly getting either demonetized or they were catching copyright claims. Then Nintendo would start siphoning off all that money, and then they stopped doing it. But then also, on the flip side, YouTube made it harder for basically copyright trolls to do what they do by requiring that they manually define the areas of a video that infringe on their copyright. So regular nerfs happen on the platform as well, the same way nerfs happen in a lot of games to kind of rebalance the equation, right? Next is there's a lot of resource management that goes into YouTube, just like a lot of video games, right? You have time, money, energy, all these things that you have to sort of manage as you continue to make content and put yourself out there on a regular basis. You know, all these things have to be kept in a sort of delicate kind of balance, right? You don't want to spend too much money on fancy equipment and then not actually commit to doing the work with that equipment that you purchased. In the same way, if you put tons and tons of time into YouTube, then it's going to start depleting your energy, right? Which tends to make you suffer in other areas of your life. So to that end, I think that's another way that YouTube is very similar to a video game. You have these very distinct resources at your disposal that it's on you to manage. Next up, I will say that it also relies on talents, right? Like a lot of RPGs do, right? So you've got things like, you know, just natural things that you tend to be good at or things that you've cultivated over time that sort of give you an edge or disadvantage in the marketplace of YouTube, right? You may be exceptional at your delivery, but you might also be incredibly camera shy, or you might be an incredible copywriter, but you're not necessarily someone who can sit down and edit video for 6 hours on end and enjoy that process. Or you could be incredibly talented at filming things, you know, being behind the camera, but you're just garbage in front of it. So to that end, every player in the YouTube game sort of has their own talents that, you know, are unique to them, that give them, again, an advantage or a disadvantage when it comes to playing in this space. So beyond talents, the other thing that I would say is it's also clearly a multiplayer game, right? There are lots of other players on YouTube. You've got viewers, you've got content creators, you've got brands, you've got businesses. I mean, there are a lot of other people who are engaged in this game with you at any one time. And to that end, the same way that you have, you know, a lot of different players, what you also have, another way that YouTube is like a game, is that you have particular factions or niches, right? And, you know, in our space in particular, there's a variety of different factions that you could point to. There are people who are, you know, 100% focused on the retro community. There are people who are more focused on building up their collection. There are people who are focused on, you know, getting deals. There are people who are focused on doing reviews. There are people who are focused on doing hardware teardowns. There are people who are focused on doing do-it-yourself stuff or hacks or things like that. So even within, like, a specific arena of YouTube, you still have it break down into a variety of different factions that you might yourself join up to, depending on where your interests lie and the kind of content that you like to create. So that's another way that I think it's similar, is that you have very distinct factions within the YouTube space. And then also, there are mods. Just like there are mods for a PC game, there are mods that you can use for YouTube, right? One of the ones that I use is TubeBuddy. Another one is vidIQ. And then, you know, even players have their own mods, right? Ad blocker, things that don't interrupt their YouTube experience or make the game more fun to play. So to that end, there are still software enhancements that exist kind of outside the realm of a first-party YouTube tool offering or something like that you can, you know, you can pay money for. Some of them are free, but they, again, give you an advantage or a disadvantage in the marketplace depending on what you want to do. And the flip side of that, another way that I think YouTube is very similar to a video game, is you also have people who exploit the game, right? And these will be people that do things like sell you views, or they will offer to you know, be like, you give us $50, then you can buy subscribers, which, again, horrible idea. But yeah, in the same way there are like altruistic people out there who make really helpful mods to improve the YouTube experience, there are also people on the dark side of that equation that are looking to undermine what it represents, offer people, you know, sort of illicit shortcuts. So that's another way that I think it's similar to a game. But perhaps the biggest way, I think, that YouTube is very similar to a video game, and the example that I'm going to use is Dragon Quest XI, is it relies heavily on hidden math and hidden numbers to function properly. In Dragon Quest XI, and this is the thing, this is something that is not, it's not a new trope in the RPG landscape, right? But one of the things that you could point to that happens a lot in RPG specifically, and I'll use Dragon Quest XI as an example, in that game you have what's called a pep state, right? Where your character gets pepped up. It's called something else, I think, in the original Japanese version, but in the West, your character gets pepped up. Basically, you enter a state of flow, and your attacks do more damage. You can do more fantastical attacks with another member of your party. But the thing about this is, you never know when you're going to hit it. This is an effect, this is a condition that triggers seemingly at random. But the thing is, it isn't random. It just appears random because you can't see the math. It's almost like having a limit gauge that's filling up that gradually gets you to a place where you can, you know, perform at a higher level, but you can't see it. It's completely hidden from you. And YouTube does the same thing, except they call it, and we call it, the algorithm. And to that end, the algorithm is that magical, mystical force that either hurts your channel tremendously, or it helps it in incredible ways, right? It might, you know, in the search engine rankings, keep your video really low towards the bottom, or because of browse features or other things that are associated with the functions that the algorithm performs, it may shoot you through the roof with a random standout video that gets you 400,000 views, right? So those are 10 different reasons that I think YouTube is very much like a game. And when I thought about it, really the conclusion that I came to was that you can't win, right? A lot of us are spending a ton of time on the platform, and for what reason? You know, I mean, there's just no win condition. And that's when I realized that I needed to sort of recontextualize it, and that's when I realized where the frustration was stemming for a lot of people who say that you shouldn't start a YouTube channel, because it's not worth it. And ultimately what I came to is, it's not a winnable game, because it's not a winnable game. And just because it's not a winnable game doesn't mean it's not fun. So to that end, what I think YouTube is, it's an MMO, right? It's not an arcade game. It's not a numbers game. It's not like an old school cartridge game where everything that was on that cart is it's static, and you can literally do every side quest and find everything and say, yes, I've beaten this game through to completion. I've seen everything there is to see. No, it's just an MMO. And to that end, lots of people play MMOs every day that they can't win. You cannot win World of Warcraft, for example. You can do your best to see everything and unlock every achievement, but ultimately, it's going to change over time. New expansions are going to come out, and to that end, it is effectively infinite, at least for the purposes of this metaphor that I'm putting forth. YouTube isn't winnable, but it's not supposed to be, because it's not about if you win, it's about if you play, and how you play. And to that end, even the win conditions that we define as creators, even people like me who generally make their content center around things like growth and success, or finding ways to improve on the platform, would have to admit that there is no clear-cut pass-fail condition for YouTube, because what it depends on is what you define for yourself as a success metric. Not everybody's after the same thing. In a lot of cases, if people want to point to a very generic, abstract sort of case for what YouTube success is, which usually involves some arbitrary number of subscribers, views, amount of money that they make, whether or not they go full-time, these are like the sort of abstract pass-fail conditions they define. They're not saying that it's unachievable. What they're saying is, I don't have the patience to wait to get there. Because in a lot of cases, it takes a lot of honest, hard work to get to that place, where a lot of people, like the gurus I was talking about yesterday, are trying to sell you a silver bullet solution that you're just going to find some way to circumvent the whole game and just go straight to a win condition, and it just doesn't work that way. And I think that's really the crux of a lot of people's arguments about why you shouldn't start a channel. You know, those videos pop up every year, like why you shouldn't start a channel in 2005 or 2010 or 2018 or whatever it is. And usually it comes down to one or two things. It's unfair, or it's too crowded, or something like that, or that the odds are stacked against you for the reasons that I mentioned in that last one, which is that there's a lot of hidden math in the algorithm involved that make things very difficult, or, you know, seemingly just make it so that you can't win, right? Odds are just stacked against you. Why should you even play? But I would say, what is the most level playing field we have? What's the best metaphor that I could use? What's the most level, fair playing field that exists on the planet? And the best thing I could think of was the Olympics, right? That would be one of the most highly regulated sporting events that there is on the planet, you know, just throughout history. And yet, even in the Olympics, we have doping scandals. People that try to circumvent the rules or try to give themselves an unfair advantage. And I think that's just human nature, right? So when people say, you know, YouTube's too hard, or it's not worth pursuing because it's too difficult, it's too crowded, all those reasons, I don't buy into it. And I don't think that you should either. Because the question isn't whether or not you can win, it's, do you have fun playing the game? And if so, then yes, I think you should absolutely keep going with it. And, you know, like the whole thing about it not being fair, yeah, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. There's a lot of things that are going to be hard, but that's up to you whether or not you're going to decide to let that stop you or not. Because I guarantee you, the Olympian right now who's been training for the past 3 years or whatever it is, putting blood, sweat, and tears into their particular craft, isn't going to go to the Olympics and be like, you know what, I don't think this is fair. I think I'm going to call it a day. It just doesn't happen. So all of these things tied together are why I think that, yes, YouTube very much has some video game-like elements, and yes, I think it's unwinnable, but only within the context of what you consider a pure, solid win, like a high score. You know, I think a lot of people are treating YouTube like an arcade machine instead of what it is, an MMO, a place to connect with people and enjoy the game the way you think that it should be played. So that's my rant for this morning. Now I'll turn to the chat. I just want to get through this quickly because I don't have a ton of time this morning. So, hello, thank you for joining. What are your thoughts on the game of YouTube? There we go. Stress packing, but I'm here. I'm a face, not diligent worker. Some of the other players only care about their scores. Exactly. And that's actually what drove it, is when I kept thinking of YouTube as a game. Some of the earliest games were arcade machines. And, you know, in that case, the only real win condition was whose name was on top, who had the highest score. And I think a lot of people are chasing high scores instead of chasing fulfillment or enjoyment of the game itself. Universe Retro, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Neo, Beck, thank you for being in here. Microtransactions of YouTube, that is a thing. Just like Dragon Quest 11, YouTube will make you cry. YouTube can make you cry, absolutely, either as a creator or as somebody who consumes content. I kind of see what you're saying with all this, but think you're stretching a little bit. Oh, tell me why, Neo. Why do you think I'm stretching? I would love to hear your position. Yes, Sushi, YouTube can beat me down so many times like a boss I can't beat. And that's what I'm saying. When people are like, oh, it's too hard, like, yeah, but these are the same people, especially gamers that go into the space, right? These are the same people that, like, stormed the gates of Encourage in World of Warcraft. These are the same people that looked at Dark Souls and were like, this is a game that I'm absolutely going to figure out how to play, and they stuck with it, and of course they won. That, you know, maybe that's more of a pure win condition, but you know what I mean. I just think World of Warcraft, YouTube is an MMO, not just a single player sort of like beat the game and that's the end. It's fluid because the platform is always changing, it's always evolving. And when people say, you shouldn't start a channel this year, I don't agree with it, because next year it's not going to be the same thing it was last year, right? And then some people say, like, YouTube engineered it this way. YouTube didn't engineer anything this way. We did. Creators and content consumers. The only thing YouTube does is respond to the intention and where it goes, because that's where the money is. Money follows attention, right? So if you can tap into that, that's where you're going to make the most dough, and that's why YouTube continues to be a massively successful platform, because Google's very good at predicting those trends and looking at what's happening, because they have all of the data, right? They have so much search engine data and hundreds of data points on every individual user that they have that they can make incredibly accurate predictions about where things are going to go or what features are going to make sense. I'm not saying they never make a misstep, they absolutely do, but they've got a lot of resources at their disposal. Now, we can win if we cheat the game. Well, and that's the other thing, right? A lot of people will say, like, oh, it's too much work, or like it involves a huge investment of time, and it does. But they're also just like, strategic things that you can indulge, right? There are tactic and strategy you can put in place around YouTube, just basic stuff that gives you an edge. But some people, they want to do what they want to do, and they don't want to necessarily look for any of that information that's going to help them grow. They just want to do their own thing and expect the platform to respond to them, and it doesn't work that way, which is fine. You can do that. You can be stoically opposed to everything that YouTube's going to put out there, and you are completely welcome to do that. But again, every 12-year-old who's in a basement who's making videos for the love of it is just going to outwork you every time, because they're not concerning themselves with complaining or being worried about what the algorithm does or the challenges they're going to face tomorrow. They're just worried about doing great work in the current moment, and that's what they're cultivating, and that's why they are winning. Square One, how's it going, man? Neo says, I meant dependence as individual players, what we class as a win. Right, because a win is different for everybody, right? For you, Neo, you talked about how you wanted to have a community around your channel and you wanted to get to know more people. So if you do that, congratulations, you're winning. Just because you don't have 100,000 subscribers doesn't mean you're not a winner, right? It doesn't mean that you're not making progress. It doesn't mean that you're not enjoying the game. I just think with this metaphor, you've stretched a little bit, but I do see what you're saying. Yeah, and then that's fine. Like, there were a couple of points in there that were a little bit looser, but I still see a ton of parallels between YouTube and gaming, especially within, like, resource management, growth, that kind of thing. So, it's not for everybody. Collecting is kind of like a video game. What, collecting games? Life is like a video game? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, RPGs, right? I feel like the entire point of that genre is to be, sort of a fictional and fantastically dramatized reflection of the kind of things that we do in real life. Caitlin, I'd rather have my life be like a delicious box of chocolates. Expand on that, Sushi. Again, I think it depends to ourselves what we class as a win. I think there are too many channels worried about how it should be done, what's the right way of doing stuff. Right, and that's the thing. There is no one right way, because, and I've said this over and over again, every creator is different, every audience is different, the tactics you're going to utilize are going to be very different depending on who you're speaking to, how you deliver that message, the format of the videos that you put out. So it is a very subjective thing, right? I don't think there is an objective, like, you are successful on YouTube. I think there are metrics for success, but those are things that you have to define yourself, right? Like, my metrics for success are how many people I help, and if I eventually make it profitable, because to that end, if I can, go full time on YouTube, then I have infinitely more time to make helpful content, which is exactly what I want to do, because what gets me going is being helpful. Skitty, hello, how are you doing this morning? Thank you for stopping by the stream. So yeah, this was just something I've been thinking about, and one of the things that kind of got me there, or got me really thinking about, was I was actually watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, which is a tremendous show, by the way, especially if you're like an IT nerd. But there's basically, I won't it's not a major spoiler, but there's a part in the series in one of the seasons where Cameron Howe, and she's just, like a brilliant programmer, and she's very focused on games. She loves creating video games, and she makes a game that has no win condition, and she also refuses to disclose to the player how the game is even played, like an instruction manual, because her position is that the joy is in discovery and finding things out for yourself. And half the players seem to get it, and half the players seem to think it's complete garbage because they can't figure out how to win, but it's an experience-driven game where, you essentially, I can't remember, it's called something about a motorcycle now, I can't remember the title, this is killing me, but essentially it's, something where there are instances within the game where you unlock new things and you improve, but the game has no true end, and I think that's what YouTube is. It's a game that doesn't truly have an end game, except for the one that you define for yourself, but no objective win condition. Jenkins says, if one person enjoys my streams, that's a win. See, that's a good mentality to have. Like, the way I see it, if I get up, I don't... At the end of every day where I'm putting out content, I don't ever really feel a sense of loss. Like, maybe my subscribers won't go up very much, or maybe my views will take a dive, but regardless of that, if I know that I was able to, make one person smile, or give them something of value, or inspire them in some way, that's a win for me. That's the feeling that I like to chase, and that's one of the reasons that I'm in this game for the long haul, because I want to see how much I can scale in. What can I put out there? What can I learn from other people by having discussions like this? If you want your life to be like a box of chocolates in a very Gumpian way, I would love to hear you expound on that. Cynthia. Colossus, is just me or is the audio out of sync? It very well may be. I've been having some streaming problems lately. Like, it even took me a few minutes to actually get this thing to go this morning, because it was, and again, I'm starting to think it's the YouTube platform. Like, I updated OBS, I moved the stream that I'm watching, back so I can keep track of the chat on a completely different machine, so it shouldn't be, like, some bandwidth issue directly on the computer that I'm streaming from anymore, so I'm not sure what happened. I don't think environmentally has changed. Takalaka, what's up, man? I'm doing pretty well this morning, talking about the ways that YouTube is like a game. Colossal Crash. I feel like it's funny that your name is Colossal Crash, then we're having a desync problem. Hey guys, slightly late to the party. No worries, man. I was slightly late this morning too on account of technical issues. T-Belly, good morning. How you doing today, man? Chris Levi, good to see you. It's tricky to go full-time on YouTube the right way. Now, when you say the right way, Square One, I'm assuming you mean in an ethical way that isn't, like, shady or exploitative. Is that what you mean? Because if so, I would agree. Like, doing things on the up and up takes time, right? Shortcuts might get you short-term gains, but usually short-term gains, but ultimately I think they jeopardize your stability long-term, and that's true of YouTube, it's true in life. Like, if you want a bunch of money and you rob a bank, yeah, that's a shortcut to get there, but if you get caught, then your life is probably over. I went live yesterday, and it all seemed to work fine, Josh, so don't know why it's messing up for you. Well, you might be connecting to different servers as well in your part of the world. That might be it. Maybe they're making some updates on this side of the planet. I'm not sure. Just working a double shift? Youch. Well, hopefully I can make that a little bit more bearable, T-Belly. That's not fun. And if it's any consolation, I had to work a double last Saturday. But I think that's going to get me... again, some comp time this Friday, so I'll probably be off around noon. I might stream some of that Dragon Quest XI, because I'm picking that up tomorrow for sure. I'm very excited for it. Mom always told me life is like a box of, you never know what you're going to get. Is that how you live your life, Sushi? Just with a completely random edge, just, throwing any and all planning to the wind in the interest of pure, unbridled human experience? Is there a right way? I've always been a guy that marches to the beat of my own drum. Yeah, I mean... I don't know. I don't think Square One's saying there's a right way so much as there's, like, ethical ways, like he's saying here, not using clickbait, misleading thumbnails, etc. Chris Levi, Colossal Crash. Took me 2.5 years to go full-time, constantly grinding. Yeah, it takes a bit for sure. And as somebody who went full-time in 2.5 years and grinded that hard to get to that place, Fabian, I'm sure you find it particularly irritating when people profess to have, like, a perfect golden solution to any channel problems, or when people get upset that it's not going quickly enough. Like, I'm sure if anybody knows, you probably know that it's a game of patience. Jake and I always enjoy your streams. That's because Jake is objectively hilarious. Skitty says, I barely get any views, but there's no better feeling than getting a comment that says, this really helped me. That's how I determine if one of my videos is successful, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, the things that make me, feel good, or the thing that lets me know that, I winning, so to speak, is when I get comments that say, hey, this was a really helpful video, or hey, I started a channel because of something you said, or hey, I decided to get back into my channel because of something you said. Like, that's why I do. And that's the thing, like, I represent a very different type of channel. I mean, not very different. I mean, there are lots of helpful channels on YouTube. But what I mean is, you know, when I say all this stuff, you don't necessarily have to run a channel that, you know, revolves around like altruism or just helping people. The way you help people doesn't have to be giving them a tutorial or a how-to guide. It might be that, like Jakin, you're just outrageously entertaining and you care about people, right? If you can bring people joy, that's a really important thing. You know, without art or something, you know, to make people laugh or enjoy their lives or just get a tiny mental break from some stressor that they're dealing with in their personal life, that is tremendously valuable. So don't think that I'm sitting here saying like, you know, if you're not doing tutorials and helping people in a very specific way, your stuff's not valuable. No, it's totally valuable. Now, I love these morning streams. I might not always be here live, but I do watch them within a day or two of each going, I appreciate it, man. I had Mandy Lee Plays commented, I think, yesterday on one of them after the fact, and she's like, I like to listen to these while I go on walks, which I thought that was great. Because I've had other people say that they listen to it on their commute. I think Kazoo does that. And at some point, I'm almost wondering if I should just do these and put them on Spotify, although it's weird. I don't know, because it's sort of group discussion, too. I don't know if people would want to... Well, I mean, I guess they're listening to it now after the fact, even with the group discussion, but I'm not sure. Fabian says, oh yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine. Complaining takes too much mental energy that can be used for planning, creating content, reaching out to companies, etc. Yeah, and I feel the same way, right? And am I going to sit here and say that I never complain about anything? Absolutely not. I don't really do it on the channel or in public, but do I have my moments where I'm just like, well, this is completely stupid? Of course I do. We're all human. But ultimately, I try to curb it or keep it in check because I know that every minute I'm complaining is a minute that I could be more productive and doing something, or simply relaxing and not doing anything, but not burdening myself with the sort of toxic, kind of abrasive energy that complaining represents, which is basically shifting blame to something else, and, you know, in a lot of cases, I think not wanting to take accountability, right? Because every time you complain, especially on YouTube, you're just creating, again, this boogeyman that you can point to, be like, well, that's the reason I don't do good, so I'm not going to make a video because it doesn't matter. That's fine. I just don't think it's the best mentality to have, and people out there who are actively working against that mentality, they're going to make more progress than you because they're, you know, they're putting the work in. And I'm nobody special, just a regular guy. Everyone has the capability to do this. Right, exactly. And again, you know, when I talk about like raw or natural talents or things that you've cultivated that just naturally lend themselves well to YouTube, you know, you may not have a perfect mix of everything you need, because again, like I've said before, you know, making a YouTube video isn't just making a YouTube video, right? There's a lot that goes into it. There's high-level strategy for the channel itself, there's coming up with ideas, and there's vetting ideas, then you have to like script it or make sure you have it in your head well enough to hop on video and do it. You gotta film it, edit it, publish it, upload it, market it, optimize it. There's like 40 steps that go in there, right? Each one of those steps, you know, is well lent to a particular set of skills, like Liam Neeson style. But, you know, ultimately, everybody has a strength in one of these areas that's going to lend itself well to the process, I think. Yes, Giddy, I agree. Having great feedback is so important. Neo, you're the one that gets me and my trust in Forrest Gump's philosophy. It's not a bad philosophy. I just wanted you to talk about it some more, that's all. Don't make me blush, Chips. Dear Sushi, you hold on to those chocolates. You actually have chocolate. Rob, you lurk away, man. No worries. Kalal says, I recently had someone stumble upon a review I did, and they were floored that it even existed. That was kind of cool. I feel like I've become very disenchanted with YouTube and the constant changes. And it's hard to roll with those punches. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. I'm just saying that it's necessary. If you're somebody who's serious about the platform and, you know, you really want to grow something special over time, it's probably going to take a little bit of time. Do people get lucky occasionally with a viral hit? Absolutely. But again, viral hit doesn't necessarily translate to long-term success. I keep going back and back to that Star Wars kid video. You know, that kid didn't even upload that video directly. Somebody did it sort of as a dig at him. It got, what, 200 million views or something ridiculous. It's still getting like millions of views today. But the channel itself, it doesn't have a million subscribers just because that video has millions of views, right? It's just a consistent process of hard work and trying to put out good content. Chip says, if you have to tackle YouTube like a game and not get too upset when things don't work, you can always start up again and go at it one more time to get where you are. Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Some people will interpret a failure, whether that's they stop the platform because they're having personal problems or they're having emotional issues, or if people just, you know, they get frustrated with it and they need to take a break for a little bit, doesn't mean the game is over. Doesn't mean that you can't start right back up again, and in a way it almost saves your progress as long as you don't, you know, as long as you don't drop off the map for a decade and lose like 1,000 subs. You know, a lot of your, you know, subscribers will still be there waiting for you when you return. It would be nice to let them know, maybe give them a heads up. I think that would be a smart thing to do. Count says, right now I feel like I'm trying to be a more positive person. Yesterday Mario Kart Tour made me really upset because they didn't include Luigi in their first release. Really? They didn't include Luigi? That's crazy. That's especially weird to me because he had one of the most iconic, like, meme-worthy pieces of Mario Kart 8 with that death stare. Like, how do you not include Luigi? That should have been solid gold. They could have people screenshotting angry Luigi stares and that. That would have been fantastic. Colossal Crash says, however, that comment I got definitely made me feel like I did something worthwhile. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, again, not an objective condition. Like, if you get fulfillment just from the process of doing it, I mean, in a way, you could even say positive feedback is a form of external validation that maybe you shouldn't rely on 100%. But if you like the actual act of making videos, there's a good chance that you're going to do well long term because you're able to just keep doing it without getting discouraged by the numbers you are or aren't getting, even if that is the number of encouraging comments or discouraging comments, I guess. Again, like Gary Vee says, you know, he doesn't really pay attention to the trolls or the people that hate him or anything like that, but he also doesn't hear the cheers. He doesn't feed so much into his own ego that he thrives on positive feedback either. You know, I think it's a balance, right? It's somewhere in the middle. Yet they included every other main character and several minor characters, including clones of the main characters in their roster. Why would they do that? That's so ridiculous to me. Chip says, I wholeheartedly agree. It's like an MMO 100% right. It's always going to be shifting. It's always going to be changing. It's going to be a collection of people of very different inclinations that occasionally have overlap. You know, there are just so many parallels I can make between an MMO and YouTube, and I think all of them would essentially be accurate. It's tremendous. DOA Insight. I like how the thumbnail for the stream is tic-tac-toe, but little does Josh know I always win. But theoretically, if you played against a skilled player, you can never win tic-tac-toe, right? And for those of you that are my age or older, you recognize that thumbnail was in fact from War Games. The crux of it being, and it's weird because I went a completely opposite direction of the theme of that movie's position on games, sort of, was the only way to win was not to play. Not at all the direction I took this one. I think you should absolutely be playing, but I think you should find your own reason for doing so and enjoyment in the process of playing the game itself, not because you have an expectation that you're gonna be the one that comes out on top or that there's some arbitrary win condition and you can only enjoy it if you hit it. If that's where your head's at, it's gonna be very hard for you to be on the space regularly. T-Belly, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. Josh is like a boss in the AM. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. Proud YouTuber? Absolutely, T-Belly. The way I went full-time was going all in on, or Fabian says, the way I went full-time was going all in on YouTube mentally. I refused to have a plan B and told myself I was going to succeed or die trying. Some don't agree with that, but that's how I still operate. Right, and that's kind of where my headspace is, right? Like, I have to have a day job to pay my bills and everything, obviously, but ultimately, I'm in this for the long haul. As a content creator, I will even say that there's a chance I may not be so beholden to the YouTube platform in the future, because again, web platforms rise and fall all the time. There's a good chance that 10 years from now, YouTube could be supplanted by something else, and I want to stay nimble enough to shift with where the attention goes and where the marketplace says is the best place to be. But ultimately, right now, YouTube is still the best place, I think, to create video on a regular basis with no upload limits, very low barriers to entry, tons of opportunity for exposure. So Josh, if we're sticking to what you've been saying about YouTube, what type of gamer are you within the world of YouTube? I'm definitely like an RPG player, right? And I think that's one of the reasons that I like action games, but I don't like action games that don't have an RPG element to them. And then, you know, the only reason RPGs aren't top of my list for my favorite genre are because they lack the raw action and constant stream of new stuff that I get from an action game like, or a first-person shooter like Borderlands, or like a looter shooter or something like that. Just because mechanically I find real-time action to be a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that's the type of player I am. Is I like the character building aspect of YouTube as a gamer, if that makes sense. You know, I look for ways that I can improve myself. Are there ways that I can work smarter? Is there a way for me to increase my output without increasing my stress? And I would say to some degree this experiment's a reflection of that. I wanted to get more stuff out on a regular basis without being burdened by a lot of the pre-production and post-production stuff that I was doing before. You know, for me, it's a matter of personal growth. And for me, one of the best things I can do to grow personally is to see how much I can do for other people. Like, that is my view on things. Not everyone shares that view, but that's kind of where I'm at. I love entertaining people through my creativity through the reach of YouTube Mixer and such. I may not be huge or anything like that, but I love each of you and the many I see each day. I love you too, Chris, and I think if you guys aren't familiar with Chris Levi, he is, like T-Belly, just an outrageously positive and encouraging person. Both of those channels are worth checking out. T-Belly particularly if you like retro, although he has been doing Modern Mondays as of late, as I recall. And just both excellent channels that will be worth your time. Actually, I think I got a cameo in Chris Levi's channel trailer, which I thought was nice. Well, was it a channel? It was your channel trailer, wasn't it, Chris? It's not an MMO, it's an MMORPG. I'm sorry, you're right. An MMORPG. So, wait, where am I at? Oh, I'm trying to catch up with the chat. I've never chased subs or views, but I feel like somewhere along the road I got blacklisted and things just don't get their proper audience. I'm okay with that, but I can't say it's motivating. No, it can be debilitating if you get a bunch of views and then things start to perform poorly. Even if you're somebody who claims to not concentrate on the numbers that much, it can still eat at you, right? I still go through that, absolutely. But, you know, I also know that, you know, it's like life or anything else, there's peaks and valleys, right? I've had, you know, periods of weeks or months on the channel where things are kind of lean, not getting a lot of views, not getting a lot of interaction with people, and then I've had seasons of plenty where everything's going fantastic. And through that process, I've learned that the lows never stay low and the highs never stay high. And in that regard, I think it's good to sort of manage your expectations of it. You know, the best you can do is the best you can do. And the way I see it, one of the best things you can do during those periods of leanness is to concentrate on other people, right? Go hang out on other people's channels, get to know some people. You might find some inspiration for a new video. You might make a new friend who wants to collaborate, and you can leverage the power of their audience to get some of the views that you feel like you've been missing that are kind of, you know, putting a dent in your confidence. I mean, there are lots of things you can do during those downtimes. Skitty says, there's nothing wrong with starting over. This is my third channel. This is the one with a clear focus. It fills a small gap I found YouTube was missing. I won't give up on this one. Skitty, that is tremendous to hear because that's exactly what I did with this channel. I didn't start a whole new one. I pivoted after I realized that I was building way too broad and I was basically speaking to nobody because I was jumping all over the place. I would do like toys or collectibles or comic books or video games or movies or random productivity things, and the channel had no clear focus, where now I got closer in that it's only video game content, but then I got a little bit, you know, niched down even just a little bit more, saying that I really wanted to create content that spoke to other gaming channels. So, you know, I don't drop in on a lot of knitting channels, you know, and be like, hey, how's it going, guys? I make YouTube stuff. You know, I love video games, and I love the people that play video games, and I think it's because it's such a crowded niche. Like, I think people are just so like, oh, video games are just so done to death, I could never stand out, I could never make it there, but that's the thing I'm passionate about it, and then they kind of push their passion down, or they decide they're going to do something else because they think they can't win. And I don't want people to feel that way. If you're super pumped about video games, I want you making content about it 24 in a healthy way, like making content 24/7 and doing something you're absolutely crazy about, because I think it's criminal to live your life any other way. It should be enjoyed, savored. Oh man, I'm trying to. So it's not for everyone, but it's what works for you. That's what people got to focus on. The other major characters, including the first release, were Wario, Waluigi, Rosalina, and hey, Waluigi though, that's kind of a win, right? And always remember to have fun with things. Gamers on TV says once it feels like a day job, you need to switch things up a bit. I would agree with that. Yes, much donation hype from T-Belly. Thank you again for that, man. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm like kind of lagged on the chat right now, but I'm trying to bounce back and forth. This feels like the ultimate insult towards Luigi. I can see how you would feel like that, but you know, he'll probably get added later as DLC, Kalen. Coincidentally, I was just scripting a video and 10 times Luigi deserved better. Yes, I remember you mentioning that. Susha says, how to win against a skill player tic-tac-toe, make them look elsewhere and change one of their moves. Sneaky, Cynthia. I like it. Good morning, Uncle. How are you today? Great topic today. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. It was just one of those things that I thought it made sense. And again, like on the surface, it does appear to be discouraging, but, you know, it's accurate, right? It's not clickbait. I'm not saying that you have to lose. I'm saying that you can't win, because I'm saying that there is no true win condition. It's just not that type of game. And a lot of people are treating it like it's exactly that type of game. And I think those people tend to get really discouraged very easily and burn out. I don't want them to burn out. If you're somebody who's chasing numbers right now and you're kind of discouraged by that, I don't want you to stop. I'm not upset that you're here in the YouTube space making content. I want you to thrive. Google likes me. Another check next month. Not bad for a tiny channel. Yes, congratulations again on the monetization, man. I'm glad you're getting some dough from YouTube. I missed the threshold a couple of months, but I think I'm gonna get paid this month. One of the things to keep in mind is that there's natural dips in views throughout the year. January, when kids go back to school, is right. When kids go back to school is one. Like, I saw a little bit of a dip in August, but you're right. During the holidays, you tend to see a big upshoot. And then, like, post Christmas, New Year, I think universally you start to see a dive. And one of the reasons for that is that companies aren't buying as many ads on the platform to run against different channels. That's why your revenue goes down too, because people do a lot of ad buys right before the holidays. So that's when people are most likely to spend money. They know that's a good place to invest their marketing dollars to make sure that people buy their product, their service, what have you. But once January hits, that takes a tremendous dive, because that's not when people are in a buying mode. You might see a slight uptick in the US around tax refund season, but ultimately, yeah, things start going down after the holidays. Sorry, I know I'm talking about this too much, but it really just angered me. I don't think I'll be downloading Mario Kart Tour for a while. No, you're fine. You know, like, not everything we talk about is purely on topic. Like, I'm here to hang out with you guys during the last part of the stream anyways. And I know that as somebody who runs a Luigi-centric channel, I think that's fantastic that you are talking about it, because it's almost like you're coming up with content ideas in real time. And it's interesting for the rest of us who are watching what you have to say, Caitlin, because we're also seeing sort of your thought process behind, like, how you cultivate that content or your views, or kind of seeing where some of the things that you put out on a video are born from. So, no apologies. No joke, you look at my channel name and you'll find content from last year. T-Belly and I did together. Very cool. What did you guys work on? Caitlin, I get that I've been like that with certain gamers. T-Belly, this DMA, I have a surprise for you tonight. Claw says, I may scrap my channel as an experiment just to see if a fresh start organically allows my content to be seen. Well, and that's the thing. That doesn't even have, you don't need to scrap it to do that. You can just start another channel and just sort of, you don't have to delete your channel to do that experiment. You can just make a new one and see what happens. Yeah, I'm with Neo, don't scrap it. That is a super wild experiment. The Last of Us Part 2 has helped my old content over the past couple of days. Right, topical, trending topic. Personally, I'm very excited. I got in on that Ellie edition, so I'm real pumped for when that game drops. If you're a gaming channel that's not original, that's okay. Make yourself the separating factor in your channel. Josh does that well. We come for him, not what he plays. Is that a dig at the fact that I only play baby mode games? I feel like that was a very thinly veiled jab, Fabian. I'm kidding, but thank you. That is one of the ways that I try to differentiate myself, is by bringing something a little bit different to the table. You know, you're right. I don't think nobody's coming to my streams being like, "Ooh, you know who's a performance player? That Josh Irish kid. He absolutely kills it when he plays retro games." No, I don't. I'm a garbage player, but I love it, and I love expressing that love on this channel. How I see a channel should be there for the person, not necessarily the game. And again, like to Fabian's point, I think that is true. And one of the things that I found is, I think that your content or the initial value proposition, if it appeals to people's interests, is almost like the doorway, gets people in, gets them interested. And then I think they tend to connect with you as a creator, as a person, more often than not, depending on how your channel is structured. I know Luigi will be added to the game later, but there's never been a Mario Kart game that saved him for later up until this one. Even the first one had him from the beginning, and it's from the 90s. Good point. It absolutely did. Speaking of which, Mario Kart was featured in Halt and Catch Fire in Season 4, and I thought that was great. Can't wait for tomorrow. I know you can't wait for tomorrow. That means everyone else should make more, right? Wait, let me back up. Shouldn't we make more since YouTube are taking ads off of kids' channels? Depends on your goals. It depends on a combination of what you want, what your content is, and who you're trying to serve. I will tell you this, that if you're serious about YouTube and you're like, I'm not getting as many views, the math is there. If you make 10 times the amount of videos that you make right now, you will theoretically get 10 times the amount of views you had before, and probably grow even more organically off that, because that gives you, if you only make 1 video a week versus 10 videos a week, you have 9 more chances to get picked up by the algorithm, to get keyed off of keyed off the search engine rankings, to be keyed off of suggested videos for topics that other people have made larger videos on. You could. Or do the rich just get richer, like PewDiePie? I mean, that's the thing. Like, PewDiePie, again, he started more niche, right? Like, that dude can do just about anything now, and he's like a tastemaker, right? Like, if that dude starts playing Minecraft, everyone starts playing Minecraft, and Minecraft is super happy for it. But, I mean, there's something to be said for that, right? It's not really that the rich get richer, I would say. I would just say that, objects in motion tend to gather more momentum, kind of thing, right? Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. If you're not doing anything, you're probably going to stay in that place. But if you make it a habit to stay in motion all the time, you tend to just gather more momentum. And I'm trying to think of the best way to make it. I mean, it just snowballs, right? Like, the larger your audience is, the more people are going to watch, and then it gets more attention. So the algorithm's going to see that's getting more attention, and then it gets a natural bump in the rankings. I think it's that initial push that where you start building that place that's the really, really hard part, but not impossible, because people do it every day. I come to spite you playing easy modes. Thank you for that, Fabian. I appreciate it. And whenever I hang out on your streams, I just kind of watch in awe of the things that I'll never be able to accomplish. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm not a performance streamer. Neil Luigi helped me get through a depression I was going through when I got in the Mario Brothers franchise. I appreciate you sharing that. And I mean, I don't know the full specifics of how that worked, Caitlin, but I'm glad that you were able to find some solace in video games, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think it must be the same with me as it is for DBZ, in that, what do you mean, like it helps you out with depression, DM? Dang, your charisma is off the charts. I love your live streams. Thank you so much, man. Half of it's caffeine. I can't take all the credit. It's mostly the fine people at Bang who made this cotton candy drink. Not a sponsor. I like the Juggernaut when he keeps moving. Nobody can... Right. That's a great analogy, too. And actually, that's one of the things that I love. Is I think this was hung up on the Facebook... on the walls of Facebook. It said, move fast and break things. That's the thing. I try to keep myself in a headspace where I'm moving so quickly that I don't have time to sit back and reflect on failure or get down in the dumps about, me not being where I want to go faster. I try to focus on, building the legacy, but instead just moving really quickly, trying different things, seeing what works, what doesn't, and then moving on. I don't like to spend a lot of time regretting and be like, oh man, that video just didn't work out. By the time I have the mental capacity to process that video I made didn't work out, I already want to be 3 videos ahead, curious about what it's going to do. And then by the time I figure out what the results for that one are going to be, I want to be working on the next thing. Like, I just want to be in constant motion at all times. 19 people are watching. Let's get over 19 likes or dislikes. You might not agree with the things that I have to say. If you don't, hit that dislike button. A close friend abandoned me at the beginning of 2016 after a year of depression. I got into Mario Brothers franchise. Luigi inspired me in the same way my old friend did. You do lose friends sometimes, and I would say you can even lose friends in your YouTube pursuits. But, I'm glad that you found what I think is probably a healthy way of coping with it, Caitlin. How's that cotton candy drink? It sounded awful. It is kind of awful, but it's also got just enough cotton candy to keep me engaged with it. So, because it has no sugar, it's one of the 0-calorie energy drinks, which historically I hate, but I love cotton candy, Fabian. I love it. I really feel like I understand you with several DBZ characters where not just drawings, they're icons and my life ideals to look up to. I would like to get back into DBZ, but I'm going to need Jake to give me a re-education, or Fabian, or anybody in here who's more knowledgeable about DBZ. And a place to watch. I don't know if that's Crunchyroll or where I could find the episodes that I need to pick up, because I left off during the Boo Saga? Cell Saga? Somewhere in there. I've gained multiple friends just from doing YouTube. I talk to you and other guys more than most of my offline friends. Yeah, dude, same here. Like, and I love my offline friends, and they're great, and I try to make sure I at least have some balance where I have some time on the weekends to hang out with my real-life friends who are tremendous, and I love them. But ultimately, a lot of the people that I talk to on YouTube have become just as close to me as a lot of those real-life friends. And the fact that I'm able to have those real conversations with them is phenomenal. And I get it, but some of the real-life people that I know are like, you're spending a lot of time on YouTube, and I'm concerned. But they don't understand that, like, a lot of you just grown to be friends. You're just not friends I see every day in the same way that I would see them. We just exist through a computer screen in most cases, or on a phone screen, or on a tablet, or on a gaming console, what have you. Josh, I'm talking your ear off about DBZ all day long. You may have to if I really get back into it. I'm afraid that I will, and it will capture me. Chris Levi, thank you so much for that super chat, man. I love it. And thank you for the fist bump. I can do that. That's adorable. That's also a nice feature that I appreciate that YouTube added that I think adds a little bit of more dynamic quality. Josh, if not for you, I wouldn't have met such awesome people like Maro, so thank you. If it weren't for awesome people like Beck, and I don't even think she's in the chat anymore, I would not have met Sushi or Maro or Daniel or a variety of other people, and I think that's one of the most unsung advantages of the platform is just all of the amazing people that you get to meet. Because again, if you're only focused on numbers, it's easy to look past the human connection. It's so easy to be like, oh, I didn't get 2,000 views today. What a horrible day. But you completely ignore the fact that you've connected with and made friends with people that you would have never met otherwise if you hadn't taken the time to start a channel and connect with people who have that same mindset that you do. Cotton candy ice cream is my favorite ice cream, Sushi. Well played. Sounds like you want me to do a DBZ. Please do a DBZ timeline. That would be very much in alignment with my interest. But, I mean, if you're so inclined. I know it's not outside the realm of your interest, but I also know that you're a guy who juggles multiple projects at once, and that you work like a demon. It is profoundly inspiring, Fabian. I might write that script today to help myself get through this. I've always found writing to be fairly cathartic myself, if I'm being honest. I plan on making a video. Yeah, 10 Reasons Luigi's a great character would be an excellent counterpoint to your 10 about where he's underutilized. I love it maybe a little bit too much. It's okay. It's good to love things too much. I mean, not to the point of, being wholly unbalanced where you're like forgetting to eat or bathe or something, I suppose. But, in a healthy way. I think it's great to be crazy passionate about the things that you love. Josh, step to my temple of DBZ and I will teach you my ways. Fair enough, Neo. A DBZ timeline might be the project that finally killed. It would have to be completely insane. I remember having trouble keeping up, even when I was watching it every single day in high school. I'm glad I met you guys. Yes, I look at the numbers, but if I get at least one person who likes a video or stream here on YouTube or Mixer, I feel good. I feel accomplished, right? And for me, that litmus test is if I'm helping people. And I don't know if I'm helping people. Like, I can't measure that on a spreadsheet, right? The most, I guess I could. The only way I could do it, though, is, I got 1 positive comment today, 2 positive comments, but I don't track things that granularly because I don't know that would be the most effective use of my time. But I will say that I feel like $1,000,000 whenever someone hits me up and they're like, hey, I was able to pick up this camera because of you and it works great. Or, hey, I made a tiny tweak to my strategy and I'm seeing huge gains or something because of something you brought up, or I just feel better about what I do as a creator because of something you said. Those are the things that really get to me. That's the kind of thing that I really enjoy. Do you play sports, Josh? Not at all. Nope. I am not a sports guy. Anything north of cornhole, that's just too much work. Any other hobbies other than YouTube? I love video games. I really love to organize and sort things. I don't just randomly do it. I'm not like I'm not like OCD, like freaking out that everything has to be perfect, but I really like to clean things. Other hobbies that I love horror movies. Yeah, I feel like that's a sort of a generic hobby. I like collecting video games, which I think is almost completely separate from playing video games themselves. I like the collection aspect of it because I like to curate things. I like to, itemize things and organize data and stuff like that. It's something that I can zone out and do, and it's very fulfilling for me. Luigi's a great character. Reason number 1, he's a Ghostbuster. Good point. Cannot wait for that game, and I'm glad I got the day off for it. Hey Josh, how's it going to do? Don Critic, it is going phenomenally well. How are you doing this morning, buddy? I think looking at the numbers is fine. I do it too. It's obsessing over the correct. Everything in moderation, right, Skitty? Nothing wrong with keeping an eye on where your growth is happening, or trying to spot trends that led to that growth. But obsessing over it, quick path to being just miserable with yourself. I'll do it. I'll do a DBZ timeline. I worked on a DBZ project for months before and just couldn't put it down, so a timeline would be easy. I'll be curious to see if it manifests. I think YouTube destroyed my channel because I used to upload a lot of Dead or Alive, Dragon's Crown, and Criminal Girls content. I don't know if maybe that's not advertiser friendly, so maybe they might have deranked you a little bit. I'm not sure. They don't like sexy videos. I don't know. I haven't uploaded a lot of sexy videos, so I couldn't tell you the impact because I don't really do it a lot. Closest I would have got would have been to streaming some Semron Kagura in like one stream, but even that was buried somewhere in the middle of the stream. It wasn't like, not like I'm streaming Peach Ball in a dedicated way, although now I might just to kind of see what happens because I'm curious. Video games are esports now. Technically, we're finger athletes. That's right. Just like NASCAR drivers. Josh has a secret anime-focused YouTube channel. I don't. I have an idea for a channel I would like to do someday, but I'm only willing to indulge it with another YouTuber, and I've never talked to them about it. But if I ever have the opportunity, I think only one person knows what this idea is, and it's the only way I'd ever start another channel, and I'll only do it if that person would agree. And I will speak of it no more. It will remain a mystery until it ever comes up organically. Oh, do they hate Senron? I know Animat is celebrating a new milestone of subscribers on his channel with an upcoming video responding to a fan-requested review. Going really well. I finished work and I see your live stream, so it makes heading home even better, right? Well, sadly, I'm going to have to end it. I got about 5 minutes before I have to get to work. I'm going to try to catch up with this real quick. YouTube thinks anything sexy is about Josh. You still have it marked for the 15th of November, right? I do. I do have it marked for the 15th of November. Do you think you will ever make it full-time on YouTube? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Because I know one of two things will happen. I'll either make it or I'll die trying. So the question isn't really, will I ever make it? It's, will I ever stop trying to make it? And I would say probably not. Which you might even take that a little broader, not say as a full-time YouTuber, maybe a full-time content creator, because the platform could shift, right? But I know I'm never going to stop making stuff, and I know that, when it comes to the money part of it that you need to go full-time, I'll tell you it's not all going to come from YouTube. It's going to come from other streams of revenue that I cultivate. But yeah, I mean, is it possible that I don't make it? Sure, it's possible. You pursue anything, it's possible. Like, you could be like, I'm going to go get a cheeseburger today, and if that's the only thing you pursue, you can walk across the street, get hit by a bus. You never know what's going to happen. The only thing I know that I can do in the present moment is to keep trying, and I'm very persistent. Can you imagine how anime channels survive? They must get copyright. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Have a good one. Take it easy, Josh. Seriously, once you get about 10K more subs, I'd say you'll start getting real close to full-time status. Hopefully. But, you know, we'll see. Again, my biggest motivator for full-time status is not like, time to get that Lambo money. No, it's time to get that, like, pay my electric bill money so that I can, you know, work on this instead of losing out 40 hours a week to the day job, which I'm very grateful for. I'm super grateful to have a day job. You know, it's just... You know, I know that in terms of the purpose that I've chosen for myself, that what I do here is more in alignment with who I am and the things that I love to create. So, you know, I'm not sitting here like, nah, just quit your job and be a YouTuber. Don't do that. Be smart. You have bills to pay, right? Keep your priorities in check. I know I certainly am. But, you know, we'll see. Sushi says, don't die, Josh. I'm going to do my best, Sushi. Seems to be the sweet spot. I hope you're right, man. You know, but again, my 10K is not really 10K. It's going to be like... probably more like 18K because I pivoted. So some of my, you know, I've got some zombies in my subscriber base. My electric bill still rattles me. Yeah, it can get pretty high. I know, right, Sushi, don't talk. Well, I'm just saying, you know. It's something we all have to deal with. But let's not end on a negative note. I have to take off because I got work to do. But thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your morning to hang out with me on this video. I loved hearing your perspectives on it. Definitely very encouraging stuff. T-Belly and Chris, thank you so much for the super chats. I really appreciate it. I gotta get off here so I can get ready for that day job so I can keep my priorities in check. But I hope you guys really enjoy the rest of your day. I hope it's not an overly stressful one and you slide into Friday and it's completely relaxing. And I hope you have the time to hustle on your own channels in a very balanced and healthy way. Again, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day, guys. Really appreciate it. And I will see you probably tonight or tomorrow on another stream. So take care.